forcing people from their homes. The fire burning in the area of Chinese camp where we're at right now. Devastation visible on both sides of the roadway as we were showing you. Firefighters working around the clock on this fire. Now, fire crews were hoping that cooler conditions overnight would calm things down here. But I can tell you this morning, as we're able to be out here with the sun coming up right now, not only able to see the damage that's been done here, but also we've had our moments making our way into the area where we've had difficult moments where we had trouble breathing. So, of course, again, firefighters truly have their hands full as they walk into today. Back to you.
Well, Governor Newsom's office says California has already received some money from FEMA to help fight the TCU complex fires. Here at home, we saw a few more lightning strikes overnight, but thankfully no major impacts. First Alert meteorologist Zoe Mintz shows us the conditions here in the Bay Area.
We are halfway through the first full week of September, the first full week of meteorological fall, although definitely didn't feel like that. This past week, it felt very warm out there, and early this morning, you notice a bit more of that fog and that cloud coverage, and this is just the precursor to cooler weather that's going to continue to be ushered in through the later parts of the week. And you might even notice those cooler temperatures along our coastal communities today, thanks to those cloudier and slightly windier conditions, sitting in the upper 60s to low 70s, but it's our inland areas that are going to be really feeling the more comfortable heat. From the hundreds that we were feeling early this week to the upper 80s to low 90s. Again, that is so much nicer for spending any outdoor activities. It's not going to be a heat safety kind of day, but still don't forget the sunscreen, the sunglasses, all that fun stuff. Upper 70s to low 80s across our North Bay communities. And again, that gradual cool down is only going to persist through the later parts of the upcoming week. The biggest issue that we saw yesterday was all of the dry lightning that sparked nearly a dozen wildfires across the central part of the state. Luckily for us, though, we didn't see any of those wildfires, and the westerly winds that we're seeing, the onshore winds, are actually going to continue to usher in much drier weather. Although you might notice in the distance, there was some lightning strikes early this morning, but these lightning strikes were across the northern part of the Sierra and just on top of Mount Diablo. We caught a beautiful view of it. This is going to be where there is that highest potential for more dry lightning throughout this afternoon and evening, but luckily for us here in the Bay Area, we don't really have all too much to worry about. Just a little bit more cloud coverage again, ushering in those cooler conditions that are going to persist through the later parts of the week. Friday, the coolest day, sitting in the low 80s. Again, enjoy the more comfortable heat inland because I can almost guarantee it's going to get a lot hotter over the next couple of weeks.
California teaming up with Oregon and Washington amid the chaos at the CDC. They are launching a new West Coast Health Alliance. Governor Newsom's office says that alliance will provide its own vaccine recommendations to its residents. The goal, they say, is to protect people with science, not politics. That comes after Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. fired several vaccine advisors and brought in leaders who have promoted vaccine skepticism. The White House has defended RFK Jr., who they say will make America healthy again. We are hearing from some of the accusers of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They shared their stories on Capitol Hill today during a news conference with two lawmakers, including South Bay Congressman Ro Khanna. As Natalie Brown reports, they are pushing for the release of all files related to the Epstein case.
We're in a sorority that none of us asked to join.
Accusers of the late Jeffrey Epstein, along with their families and advocates, are fighting for transparency.
He was an international human trafficker.
The women say they want the public to know what they endured.
Protect the vulnerable, not the powerful. Protect children and survivors.
The news conference comes as Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky and Democratic Representative Ro Khanna of California are leading a bipartisan effort to try and force a vote requiring the Justice Department to turn over all files related to the case.
There is something that is rotten in Washington. Less than 1% of these files have been released.
The lawmakers are pressuring the Trump administration to disclose more information about the criminal probes and recently subpoenaed the Justice Department for Epstein records. Analysis by CBS News found much of the release had already been made public, but did include unseen surveillance video outside Epstein's jail cell on the night he died by suicide, as well as the disgraced financier's flight logs documenting travel with young women.
It's so hard to begin to heal knowing that there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do.
House Speaker Mike Johnson was among the lawmakers who met privately with victims on Tuesday, calling them courageous.
There were tears in the room. There was outrage. It was both, I would describe it as heartbreaking and infuriating that justice has been delayed so long.
It is a cover-up of epic proportions.
Other lawmakers say the House Speaker and colleagues are not doing enough to bring transparency and accountability.
While the survivors were speaking outside, President Trump was in the Oval Office meeting with the president of Poland. While answering questions from the press, Trump dismissed calls for a full release of the Epstein files. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, we are going to hear from a man who says he rented out his RV and it came back with thousands of dollars in damage. Was a trip to Burning Man to blame?
Without even saying sorry. Sorry, I've done this to your RV. Sorry, I broke your rules and your contract. Sorry that I disrespected you.
Plus, how a new parking policy designed to bring more money to a Bay Area town could actually be driving business away.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Halfway through a pretty warm start to the week, but as you can tell, cooler weather, it has arrived. More cloud coverage as well, especially along our coastal communities. So if you do live along the coast, the beautiful beach weather is behind you, although not to say maybe next week some beautiful beach days aren't going to be on the way, but this week it's going to be much cooler, especially inland. We're going to be seeing those temperatures dropping to below average. Friday likely going to be the coolest day of the week in the low 80s. Enjoy the comfortable heat inland because we all know it's not going to last long.
Many burners are back in the Bay Area now that this year's party in the playa is over, but some problems might have been brought home. A Redwood City man tells us that he is preparing to take legal action after he claims a renter took his RV to Burning Man. The renter allegedly signed a contract that prohibited him from doing so. Amanda Harry talked with that owner and got an up-close look at the damage to the RV.
And again.
Ronnie Ginto has been renting out his RV for a year, and it's been a positive experience until this past weekend, when he says someone violated his contract and caused thousands of dollars worth of damage.
Without even saying sorry, I've done this to your RV, sorry I broke your rules and your contract, sorry that I disrespected you, none of those. And that hurt.
Ginto says the renter signed a contract that included a section that strictly prohibits renters from taking the RV to music events and large gatherings, including but not limited to Coachella and Burning Man. Ginto says the renter also tried to alter the contract, penciling in a clause about reasonable damage.
If I'm aware of that, I would have initialed it. And if I'm aware of that, I would have not given him the keys.
Ginto has air tags on the keys and in the vehicle, something the renter also signed off on. That's how Ginto was able to see the RV was at Burning Man.
My heart dropped and I feel really, really stressed about it, knowing that my RV is not protected by any insurance, and we really work hard to have this RV. It is our investment and this is part of our livelihood. And when I saw that, I just didn't sleep.
Ginto says he even specifically messaged the renter when he noticed the reservation dates coincided with Burning Man, but says the renter told him he was taking the RV to the Bridgeport area. Ginto's friend took these photos of the RV parked at Black Rock City.
Risk of the weather that occurs over there, the dust storm that I seen, the rain, the mud, the playa dust that goes all in the corner of the RV, it could damage the AC, the generator, all the vents.
Ginto found dust in the engine bay. He needs to replace all the filters. On the outside of the RV, the awning arm was ripped off, leaving bolts exposed, and part of the exterior was hanging off. Ginto reached out to the renter, telling him to bring the RV back early, but says he didn't respond. When he did bring it back, Ginto took this video.
I'm taking a video because I really feel disrespected by you.
Where's the inspection form?
There's no inspection form. You already terminated the contract.
We reached out to the renter, who gave us a statement saying, quote, "The damage happened to the RV happened in San Francisco while parking the RV. The damage did not happen near Burning Man or Black Rock or anywhere else, and that has been documented with an insurance claim." Ginto wants the renter to pay for the repairs. If not, he's ready for the next steps.
And if it doesn't, my lawyer is ready to take him to the court, and we'll take every step to get him accountable for what he did.
Meanwhile, other burner cars are also getting inspected after a week in the desert. Nevada car washes are busy. They're going to be that way for weeks as RVs stop by to rinse off the dust. One customer said he cleaned the inside of his rental car as best as he could, but left the outside for someone else.
Honestly, we knew it was a lost cause. Yeah, we have to have professional help, I think.
One car washer said rental cars often make pit stops in order to avoid any extra fees. And it's not just the exterior that needs a bath. Under the hood, the engine, battery, and other components are typically all covered in dirt. Now to a story you're only going to see here on CBS News Bay Area. A landscaping truck carrying debris snags on overhanging communication wires in Oakland, and then the driver just takes off. A driver ended up dumping that debris a few blocks away, right outside the Coliseum complex. Let's take a closer look at that video. This all happened Tuesday morning, Baldwin Street, just off Hagenberger Road. The surveillance video from a business there caught the truck driving down the street, and then a large piece of what looks like a pallet standing diagonally inside of it gets caught in those overhanging wires, pulling them and snapping them, and that cut the internet at nearby businesses. Then they ended up dumping the container and something that looked like a large pallet outside of the Oakland Coliseum. Later, someone apparently returned to grab the dumpster but left the pallet. PG&E came out to Baldwin Street to check that none of the electrical wires were damaged, and AT&T was informed about the damaged communication line. But City Council member Ken Houston says this could have all been handled if the driver had been willing to take accountability when this all happened.
Be responsible. Stop. Pull over. This could have been hazardous. They could have hit the electrical lines. They're lucky they hit the communication line, but it's affecting all the businesses around here. The good thing about this is the businesses are coming together, right, to say enough is enough.
The city sent out waste management trucks to pick up the pallet from in front of the Coliseum, but it was too heavy to lift, so they broke it up and used a crane arm to remove it. We reached out to the truck company K&C Environmental. Somebody who identified themselves as the manager said they were unaware of the incident, then hung up when we told them that we were with CBS News. Councilmember Houston predicts it's going to take a while before that communication line is repaired. Now to some parking frustration in one North Bay town. A new parking meter system was set up to try to bring in more revenue. But now some people who live there and business owners say they are over it. Downtown San Anselmo implemented paid parking in June. Drivers have to pay $1.50 per hour. But some people say the high-tech payment system is confusing, especially for older people. John Ramos heard from people who call it a big headache and business owners who say this new program is hurting their foot traffic.
For the first time in its history, the town of San Anselmo has instituted paid parking on its main commercial street. That in itself would be enough to make people angry, but it is the system that they chose for payment that has a lot of people beginning to gather tar and feathers.
Drawing traffic to San Anselmo Avenue is the goal of any of the small businesses that line the street. The problem comes when the cars actually try to stop there.
I miss the 2-hour parking so much, I will say.
Does this seem a little complicated?
Yes.
Welcome to downtown San Anselmo, where the privilege to park now costs $1.50 per hour. The new metering system began on June 2nd, and the reaction has been nearly universal.
It's terrible for our town.
Frank Gomez owns the Wink Optics store, and he, like most of the other merchants, hates the meters, and especially the reaction it gets from his customers.
And the town said that the businesses were for this, which now we have community members in Marin boycotting downtown San Anselmo to shop and dine and stay.
Why? Why are they angry?
Because of the kiosks. They're hard to use. They didn't think about our elders. They didn't think people were less fortunate that don't have credit cards. They don't even accept coins because it was too much work.
The system is from a company called Park Mobile. There are a number of ways to pay, but they all require a phone and credit card, something that isn't always popular with the area's large elderly population.
I think Park Mobile knows this is a challenge, so they put a sticker on the side. There's no phone number on it. So, well, actually there is, I'm sorry, but it's so tiny, I forgot it was even there.
Sarah Robinson is a local age and disability advocate who helped craft the city's accessibility policy. She says the system requires people to know their license plate number and which zone they happen to be parked in when trying to pay at the single kiosk on each block.
So if I enter a license plate.
You have your license plate memorized?
No, I don't. I just made it up. Oh, I just found somebody's license plate. So
you just typed in somebody's
license plate is now parking in San Anselmo.
She doesn't believe the system was designed with the town's clientele in mind.
When I'm thinking about this particular parking system, I'm looking at all ages, all abilities. Will this work for them?
The downtown is in an uproar over the meters, and residents and merchants plan to give town leaders the what for at a meeting next Tuesday morning.
This is level 10, DEFCON 5. We need to get rid of these meters and get these businesses back on track.
Do you think they'll actually do that now that they've already spent the money?
With the amount of people that are going to show up next Tuesday morning at 8:45 a.m., if they don't, it's going to be a big stain on the town of San Anselmo.
Ironically, the city installed the paid parking after merchants complained that the previous free 2-hour parking limit wasn't being enforced. The system was installed to pay for a parking enforcement officer, but they say no officer was ever hired.
Next week's gathering will be before the town's Economic Development Commission. The merchants say so far no agenda for the meeting has been posted, but they expect it to be on it. The Golden State Valkyries one step closer to clinching a spot in the playoffs. They beat the defending champs, the New York Liberty, last night. Final score at Chase Center, 66-58. This is the team's fourth straight win. There are 4 games left in the regular season, and the magic number to clinch a playoff spot is now down to 2. But that could happen as soon as tomorrow if the Valkyries beat the Dallas Wings at Chase Center and if the LA Sparks lose their game today. So you can watch the Valkyries taking on the Wings tomorrow. Pix Plus 44 Cable 12. Our live pregame coverage starts at 6:30. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. Muni facing a devastating fiscal cliff, how the transit agency plans to deal with the $300 million deficit, and how riders could feel the impact.
We are going to see those microclimates because inland areas are going to be feeling warm temperatures. Coastal communities going to be feeling a bit more of those cooler conditions as the onshore winds are going to be a bit breezier than yesterday, gusting anywhere from 20 to 30 miles an hour and mixed with the slightly foggier conditions. Again, that's going to keep those temperatures slightly cooler. By the afternoon hours, we're going to see those highs sitting in the mid to upper 60s, maybe low 70s here in San Francisco. It's a degree or 2 cooler than yesterday, but it's our inland areas that are definitely feeling those more comfortable conditions from the mid to upper 90s to triple digits like what we saw earlier this week to the mid to upper 80s to low 90s. Hey, that's a lot more reasonable for any outdoor activities. Very similar down into the Santa Clara Valley. For areas by the bay and across our North Bay, we'll be in the upper 70s to mid to lower 80s. Overall, it is going to be a comfortable afternoon, especially compared to earlier this week.
San Francisco transit leaders considering some tough decisions to avoid going off that fiscal cliff they've been dreading for years. SFMTA already cut some services and staff to barely balance this year's budget. Right now, the long-term outlook for Muni is not looking good. SFMTA projects the deficit to grow to more than $300 million for the 2026-27 fiscal year. And now the agency is calling for across-the-board cuts to help close it. Lauren Tom spoke with a local transit advocate who's worried about how those cuts could impact the quality of service.
From buses to cable cars, public transit is a lifeline in San Francisco. And for riders like Dylan Fabris, it isn't just a convenience, it's a way of life.
I use Muni for just about everything. I take it to work, I take it to Golden Gate Park, I take it to shows, I take it to the doctor.
But that reliability is under threat as SFMTA faces what leaders call a devastating fiscal cliff by way of a $307 million budget deficit. The solution? To cut 5 to 7% from each division of the public transit agency. For Dylan, it's a familiar story with a frustrating ending, having seen earlier cuts to service.
I think the agency really is doing more with less right now, which is why it's disappointing to hear the news that it sounds like they're going to have to be doing even less.
The agency insists it will keep routes intact, but riders may still notice the impacts of the cuts.
Vehicle might get a deep cleaning once a week instead of once a day. So there will be changes in how passengers experience Muni, but the actual routes and headways is what we're looking to preserve.
Chief Financial Officer Bree Mahorter says the agency has already eliminated more than 500 vacant jobs and even trimmed 1% of service last year. But she says the easy cuts are gone.
I really cannot emphasize enough how devastating the shortfall that we are looking at is. It's nearly 30% of the MTA budget. So if you think about your home budget, what it would take you, what your life would look like if your salary was cut by 30%, that is the equivalent restructuring that the MTA has to go through.
She says the problem lies with how the city has changed post-COVID. Less parking revenue, fewer riders as more people work from home, and pandemic relief funds now exhausted. And to bridge the gap are 2 ballot measures, one state and one local expected in 2026. But even if they pass, they won't cover the entire shortfall.
And we can't be going to the voters with the request of, give us some more money for dirtier buses. Give us more money for less reliable buses.
Dylan says fixing transit will require more than just getting by.
We know that a system that doesn't work isn't going to get more people onto the bus, and we need to be getting more people onto the bus. And we need to be providing better service for the people who already are riding it.
Meantime, Muni's scheduled changes starting this week. The 1X California Express is back after being cut because of budget issues. The 30 Marina added a new morning route, and schedules will be adjusted for the 49 Van Ness Mission, 8 Bayshore, and 29 Sunset routes. Muni says most of these changes are being implemented because there's higher demand now that school is back in session. Well, this year, there is a shortage of crossing guards at almost 24 city schools in San Francisco. The agency blaming the looming budget deficit, citywide hiring slowdowns, and a higher than usual turnover rate. And families are hoping that'll change.
I think it's kind of unacceptable that we have the situation where we have a shortage of crossing guards. Many families know our crossing guards and really appreciate their work. And so, they are an important part of our community that is really critical.
17 public schools and 4 private schools are at least 1 crossing guard short this year. The SFMTA tells us they are working to fill the gaps and that they're looking to add temporary staff and will expedite hiring and training. We checked out the job openings on the SFMTA website for ourselves, and right there front and center, a temporary crossing guard position. Coming up in the next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area. California's redistricting fight hitting the airwaves. We're going to dive into the political ads from both sides.
The first parade of its kind rolls into KPIX Plus September 20th. From the smooth rides of the 40s to the flash and chrome of the 80s, watch custom lowriders bounce, hop, and roll with style. award-winning Chevys, classic Fords, and pure automotive artistry. Join Sarah Donchi and myself for King of the Streets Parade, Saturday, September 20th at 1 p.m. Only on KPIX Plus and CBS News Bay Area.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for being with us this Wednesday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here is another look at some of our news headlines. Lightning strikes sparking a cluster of new wildfires in Central California. There are 3 major wildfires burning right now in Stanislaus, Calaveras, and Tuolumne counties. Evacuations underway in some of those areas. Some homes have been lost. The flames have also left destruction at the historic Chinese camp. That's a gold rush town settled in the 1850s by Chinese miners who were driven out of a nearby camp. In response to changes at the CDC, California, Oregon, and Washington are teaming up to form a new West Coast Health Alliance. They say the alliance will offer science-based vaccine recommendations. That comes after 9 former CDC directors said that Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. is endangering the health of Americans. The White House says that he is making America healthy again. And the Golden State Valkyries, one step closer to clinching a spot in the playoffs. They beat the defending champs, the New York Liberty, last night. Final score at Chase Center, 66-58. This is the team's 4th straight win. There are 4 games left in the regular season, the magic number to clinch a playoff spot now down to 2. That could happen as soon as tomorrow if the Valkyries beat the Dallas Wings at Chase Center and if the LA Sparks lose their game today. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast now with meteorologist Zoe Mintz.
We are halfway through the first full week of September, the first full week of meteorological fall, although definitely didn't feel like that. This past week, it felt very warm out there, and early this morning, you notice a bit more of that fog and that cloud coverage, and this is just the precursor to cooler weather that's going to continue to be ushered in through the later parts of the week. And you might even notice those cooler temperatures along our coastal communities today, thanks to those cloudier and slightly windier conditions, sitting in the upper 60s to low 70s, but it's our inland areas that are going to be really feeling the more comfortable heat. From the hundreds that we were feeling early this week to the upper 80s to low 90s. Again, that is so much nicer for spending any outdoor activities. It's not going to be a heat safety kind of day, but still don't forget the sunscreen, the sunglasses, all that fun stuff. Upper 70s to low 80s across our North Bay communities. And again, that gradual cool down is only going to persist through the later parts of the upcoming week. The biggest issue that we saw yesterday was all of the dry lightning that sparked nearly a dozen wildfires across the central part of the state. Luckily for us, though, we didn't see any of those wildfires, and the westerly winds that we're seeing, the onshore winds, are actually going to continue to usher in much drier weather. Although you might notice in the distance, there was some lightning strikes early this morning, but these lightning strikes were across the northern part of the Sierra and just on top of Mount Diablo. We caught a beautiful view of it. This is going to be where there is that highest potential for more dry lightning throughout this afternoon and evening, but luckily for us here in the Bay Area, we don't really have all too much to worry about. Just a little bit more cloud coverage again, ushering in those cooler conditions that are going to persist through the later parts of the week. Friday, the coolest day, sitting in the low 80s. Again, enjoy the more comfortable heat inland because I can almost guarantee it's going to get a lot hotter over the next couple of weeks.
Well, prepare to be bombarded by political advertising on the California redistricting battle. Ads for and against Prop 50 are already flooding TV screens and social media. If approved by voters during the November 4th special election, it would redraw congressional district lines in Democrats' favor. Democrats put this in motion as a response to President Trump's push for redistricting in Texas that could give the GOP 5 more congressional seats. Reporter Steve Large has a look at both sides.
Proposition 50 threatens what voters built.
The Prop 50 ad fight is on.
Following the dictator's playbook.
With ominous soundtracks seeking to strike fear in voters' minds. The ads unleashed for the first time, telegraphing 2 very different storylines.
Arresting people without warrants.
Yes on 50 ads, describing this as a vote on Donald Trump, even making comparisons to Nazi Germany.
Donald Trump has unleashed a blitzkrieg.
The no on 50 ads, describing the effort to strip away building blocks of good government policy.
Prop 50 destroys this good work.
How this turns out, I don't know.
Political expert Jack Pitney says one big problem for the No campaign, independent redistricting, is boring.
The problem for the No side is that their message is vague and abstract. Good government, we shouldn't gerrymander. That's just not something that drives a lot of people to the polls.
Donald Trump's scheme to
Pitney says the yes side attacking Donald Trump is clear.
Prop 50 will put the election back on a level playing field.
Yes on Trump, no on Trump. That's very easy to sell and very easy to understand.
California Republican activist Charles Munger Jr. is financing the No campaign. The son of Warren Buffett's business partner has put $20 million of his own money into the No side. The Yes side is funded by several political action committees, including the Democrats' House Majority PAC, the California Teachers Association, Governor Newsom's 2022 campaign, and the State Worker Union, SEIU.
There's just too much at stake. That as long as I have breath in my body, I'm going to fight every step of the way this from happening.
A recent UC Berkeley Institute of Government Studies poll showed of people asked, 48% would vote yes on Prop 50, 32% no, and 20% were still undecided. The measure needs 50% plus 1 to pass.
It's a sign of a challenge for the Yes on 50 side. This is not a slam dunk, not something they can count on passing automatically.
Proposition 50 threatens what voters built. Following the dictator's playbook.
Redistricting drama. Will these new TV ads lead voters to tune in or tune out?
Again, that special election for Proposition 50 is set for November 4th, but early voting starts October 6th. Oakland police radios are going silent to the public starting today. That means no more listening in on police scanner traffic for emergencies or accidents. The department says it's encrypting its radio communications to protect the safety of officers and make it easier to respond to emergencies. Critics say it cuts off important public and media access and reduces transparency in a department struggling to reform. The Powerball jackpot for tonight's drawing is now up to $1.4 billion. That is the 5th largest prize in the game's history. Lottery fever heating up here in the Bay Area. The city of San Jose has lottery luck in its history, like the $248 million Mega Millions ticket that was sold at a 7-Eleven on Cooser Road back in 2022. That's where we find our Veronica Macias.
The Powerball jackpot prize continuing to climb this morning. Now look at this behind me at the 7-Eleven at $1.4 billion. And do you have a chance of winning here in San Jose? Yes, you do. Back in 2022, a millionaire was made here. Someone won $247 million. But this morning, we're not talking millions. We're talking $1 billion. With no one in the U.S. winning Monday's Powerball drawing, the jackpot continued to climb. It's the 5th largest in Powerball history. There's been 41 drawings since the last Powerball winner. Lottery officials say the odds of winning the full Powerball jackpot are about 1 in 292 million. For those of us who don't play, Powerball costs $2 per play. Select 5 numbers between 1 and 69 for the white balls and select 1 number between 1 and 26 for the red Powerball. And good luck. But lots of people in San Jose saying that they would be very generous with that winning.
Take care of my family.
How so?
Taking care of my kids, my brothers, giving them houses. You know, that's so hard right now with the housing. So I make sure I buy them a house, and I take care of some friends that need it.
And if you decided to take the lump sum here, you would win $500 million. And let's not be greedy. Already 10 people in California who played the Powerball jackpot getting $1 million. Something better than nothing.
That drawing is scheduled for 8 o'clock tonight. Your chances of winning 1 in 292 million. Coming up next, California soon going to be looking for a new leader. We'll continue our special series where we are talking to the candidates for governor. What Stephen J. Klobeck says he would change if elected.
They hurt business to the point where businesses are shutting down in California and don't even want to come in.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Wednesday, halfway through, a pretty warm start to the week, but as you can tell, cooler weather, it has arrived. More cloud coverage as well, especially along our coastal communities. So if you do live along the coast, the beautiful beach weather is behind you, although not to say maybe next week some beautiful beach days aren't going to be on the way, but this week it's going to be much cooler, especially inland. We're going to be seeing those temperatures dropping to below average. Friday likely going to be the coolest day of the week in the low 80s. Enjoy the comfortable heat inland because we all know it's not going to last long.
Over the next 2 weeks, CBS News California Investigates is going to introduce you to the people who want to be our next governor. Correspondent Julie Watts sitting down with the 11 candidates who have thrown their hats in the ring so far.
You know, you're not running against Donald Trump.
No, but the problem is he's made us the bitch of the United States, and somebody's got to protect us, and that's why I'm fighting. Because he keeps making us look silly, and I am sick and tired of it.
We are asking one question with one candidate to give you early insight into who they are and why they want to be your next governor. Today, Julie introduces us to Stephen J. Klubeck.
Stephen J. Klubeck is running as a Democrat to replace California Governor Gavin Newsom when he terms out next year. He lives in Beverly Hills and describes himself as a business visionary, philanthropist, and entrepreneur. You may know him from his appearances on CBS's Undercover Boss or his bold campaign commercials attacking President Trump.
Trump paying somebody to handle his balls is nothing new.
He says he's running for governor because he's, quote, spent his life fixing broken, and he'll do the same with California because not one of the other candidates has that experience, end quote. We sat down with each candidate for an in-depth interview covering all of the issues that matter to you. But we began by asking each person what they think our current governor and legislature got right over the last couple of years and what they would have done differently if they were governor. That's one question with Stephen J. Klubeck. What is one thing, in your opinion, that Governor Newsom has done well?
Got out of his office in Sacramento and gone into the field to talk to the customers of California.
One thing, in your opinion, that was a misstep?
French laundry.
Fair enough. Now, how would you avoid those types of French laundry moments? You're going to have friends who are lobbyists. You've got friends in high places, lots of celebrities.
Don't self-inflict oneself. I mean, follow the laws that you are leading. Lead by example.
Have you talked to him about that? About French laundry?
Yes, we had some private conversations because, yes, and he's a dear friend. And yeah, yes, I was on the phone with him. And I gave him my advice and thoughts and counsel.
Do you think you can get the governor's endorsement?
Well, I'm sure if I get through the primary, I think he respects my opinion, and I'm watching some of the things that he is doing today.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one thing that the California legislature got right over the last 2 years.
They're starting to pay attention to too many laws being presented because we're lawed out.
So the reduction of the number of bills that the lawmakers can introduce.
They're starting to pay attention, baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
They're listening.
One thing, in your opinion, that was a significant misstep.
PAGA was not fixed. It was a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid.
Explain to us what that is.
Well, PAGA is basically anybody can file a class action lawsuit against any company or employee for any reason.
Okay.
And it inhibits California from being open for business and doing good business.
And how did the legislature fail on that?
They let the tort lawyers and take advantage of them with wiggle room in the language. I mean, look, it's a tort lawyer's dream, and it didn't even really take care of the plaintiff, the injured person.
And so you think that by allowing the lobbyists, the tort lawyers, to water down the legislation...
That they allowed wiggle room in the legislation. They hurt business to the point where businesses are shutting down in California and don't even want to come in.
Well, we should note Governor Newsom's office did not respond to our interview request. Julie is going to moderate the upcoming California Governors Forum at Sacramento State. That is happening Monday, September 8th at 2 p.m. You can watch that live streaming on the free CBS News app. That is going to be one interesting race. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, more and more whales making a splash around the San Mateo County coast. What's causing this spectacle and the dedicated enthusiasts flocking there to watch?
There's definitely, a number of us whale addicts out here. So we spend hours and hours, all day out here.
By the afternoon, as we all know, we are going to see those microclimates because inland areas are going to be feeling warm temperatures. Coastal communities going to be feeling a bit more of those cooler conditions, as the onshore winds are going to be a bit breezier than yesterday, gusting anywhere from 20 to 30 miles an hour, and mixed with the slightly foggier conditions. Again, that's going to keep those temperatures slightly cooler. By the afternoon hours, we're going to see those highs sitting in the mid to upper 60s, maybe low 70s here in San Francisco. It's a degree or two cooler than yesterday, but it's our inland areas that are definitely feeling those more comfortable conditions, from the mid to upper 90s to triple digits like what we saw earlier this week, to the mid to upper 80s to low 90s. Hey, that's a lot more reasonable for any outdoor activities. Very similar down into the Santa Clara Valley. For areas by the bay and across our North Bay, we'll be in the upper 70s to mid to lower 80s. Overall, it is going to be a comfortable afternoon, especially compared to earlier this week.
Well, if you head to the Pacifica coast, you might be able to catch a glimpse of this: humpback whales splashing just offshore. Our Max Darrow caught up with one avid whale watcher who has fostered a growing community of people just like her.
There it is, right there.
For the best play-by-play of a phenomenon unfolding off the coast of Pacifica right now.
Oh, big splash again.
Look no further than Robin Brunn.
I do love it, as you can tell, yeah. And a lot of times you can see them slap their fins.
Simply put, she loves whales.
They're magnificent creatures, for sure.
And the humpback whale is the star of an offshore show on daily display in Brunn's backyard.
But the last 2 weeks have been spectacular.
That is drawing people to Pacifica from all over the place.
There's definitely, a number of us whale addicts out here. So we can spend hours and hours, all day out here at times.
The whales are here to primarily feed on anchovies. It's a relatively new phenomenon.
We are seeing now whales using coastal habitats more often than they did 20, 15 years ago.
Jaime Janke is with the group Point Blue Conservation Science.
There's two things going on here. One is a shift in the distribution of the prey, the fish prey that they consume. And the second part of the story is the success story on the recovery of the humpback whale population along the west coast of the U.S.
Janke says the whales are staying for longer, too. His group has documented whales off the coast during the winter in recent years. And with that...
And we need to do as much as we can to minimize the threats from vessel strikes and from entanglements.
It's a whale right there. You can see its back. You see the blow and its back.
Aside from the show itself, Robin loves sharing her enthusiasm with others.
I'd say it's just like kind of pure joy, really, to see them. Well, there's a whale down there.
She created the Facebook group Pacifica Whale Spotting a few years ago so people could take in the beauty together. And there are now 36,000 members.
I've gotten messages from people that said that it completely changed their life to see whales live for the first time.
It's tough to pinpoint what it is.
And for some reason, I'm just drawn to them. I just love to watch them.
Maybe it's a majestic magnetism, or maybe it's the mysteriousness of what lies below the marine surface. Whatever it is, Robin is in luck.
Oh, yeah, that was a big tail throw. Yeah, did you get it?
And you can bet she will continue to light up with every look.
And experts say if you are planning a visit to Pacifica to see the whales, do be careful at the pier and some of the surrounding beaches and cliffs, because the ocean can creep up on you with a strong current. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.